Join us, join us, join us, join us, join us. The Evil Dead was written and directed by Sam Raimi, who did The Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Darkman, The Quick and the Dead. Yes, that Sharon Stone Western that most people totally forgot about, especially right after it came out. Isn't a bad movie, had Leonardo DiCaprio in it. Nevertheless, he also did Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, with, yes, that iconic, if not meme-worthy, if not absolutely out of place, dance sequence where emo Tobey Maguire decided to go nuts. He also directed Drag Me to Hell that I absolutely hated, and you can unleash in the comments now. Nevertheless, The Evil Dead is the beginning of the, wait for it, Evil Dead franchise that has been ongoing for a while. Some fun tidbits about this movie will be said during the review, and this did come out in 1981. It had a 1981 release date, but didn't get a wide release until April of 1983. April 15th to be exact. We're coming up on the 40-year anniversary of The Evil Dead coming out. And yes, the Book of the Dead and all the blood and the gore and the fact that this movie was made for $350,000, which I believe is around the budget that the original Halloween was made for. And if you read up on IMDb and you read up on the facts, boy, the cast and crew certainly went through a lot of shit to make this movie work. You have Ashley, or Ash J. Williams, played by Bruce Campbell, the man with the glorious chin himself, that has played Ash and actually is a pretty good actor. I think Bruce Campbell often gets forgotten about as being a pretty good actor, and he's endearing, and also he has good comedic timing. Ellen Sandweiss, Richard Domanicore, just sounds like some kind of demonic, entity that you would summon from the Book of the Dead, at least the last name. Betsy Baker, that just sounds like she should be part of the Pink Ladies from Grease. And Teresa Tilly. Kind of reminds me of Jennifer Tilly, who is in her 60s and looks fucking incredible. She is not Jennifer Tilly, but she looks good. Nevertheless, if you haven't seen The Evil Dead, well, prepare to watch The Evil Dead Rise, or Evil Dead Rise as it were. You had Evil Dead that came out technically in 1981, wide release in 1983. Evil Dead 2 that came out in 1987. Army of Darkness, yes, this shirt. And there was a gift, by the way, from my sister. They came out in 1992, and unfortunately, after that, we got it put on ice for a bit. The fourth movie did not end up happening due to the fact that Army of Darkness underperformed at the box office, despite being, in my opinion, the best entry of the goddamn franchise. Then you had the 2013 soft reboot, Ash vs. the Evil Dead, and now Evil Dead Rise coming out in just a couple weeks as of this recording. So, basically 5 college friends decide to go on vacation into the mountainous area of Tennessee, just one of those many mountainous areas I imagine that they have, into a cabin. And there's a rickety bridge that doesn't look like it has been renovated since the 17th century. They arrive, they find an audio tape, and a book that is made of human flesh and written in human blood, and then suddenly demons are summoned and everybody has to basically try to survive the night. I'm going to say right now, this is probably going to be very controversial. Yes, while I have this shirt and I do enjoy Army of Darkness and I respect what the filmmakers did, as a movie, this is not great. It has not aged well at all, but that being said, it also had budgetary constraints, and they went through hell, basically, to make this goddamn thing. The cabin they used was an abandoned cabin, and the only thing, apparently the prerequisite from any of the people, the property owners, don't do any renovations to the house or whatever, don't build anything unless you take it down. And the only thing that they put in there was a fireplace. Probably a good thing they put that there because they filmed this during the 1979-1980 winter. And this movie was made on a very small amount of money. Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi were friends. I mean, I assume still are friends, but were friends in high school and had done Super 8mm films. And basically, after principal photography was done, the most of the cast left, and it was Bruce Campbell and some stand-ins. Some fake shemps, as they are called in the cast. And the movie only has an 85-minute runtime and uses a lot of neat camera tricks. In fact, the opening part, where they're going over the swamp and everything, was actually made by a little dinghy boat. And that is what they actually call it, folks. They call a little boat a dinghy, by the way. They're taking their little dinghy out among the wetness, and they do all the sweeping camera tricks, and there's some inventive stuff in this, but just as far as scares, this movie, I can't imagine this movie was even scary in 1981. As a comedy, it mostly works because it can't help but laugh at it, because it's goofy. It's inherently goofy, and they embrace the goofiness from then on in the second one and the third one. But the budget was going to become a bit difficult to get it made in the 35 millimeter and get a wide release. So Bruce Campbell put up his family's property in North Michigan to, as collateral to help, Sam Raimi make, ends meet, get all this going, and get it to 35 millimeter. And Sam was so grateful, and it ended up becoming a hit. $350,000 in the late 70s, early 80s, and it made $2.4 million US, $2.7 million worldwide. I think that would be around $30 million in today's money. So it was a success. It made its money, and then some. And Sam Raimi even made Bruce Campbell an executive producer. So from there, let's talk about The Evil Dead. So basically, it was filmed in Morristown, Tennessee, and every friend arrived. The audio in particular is kind of dicey. Even if you get the HD version that's cleaned up on Amazon, you can't get the NC-17 version, more in the pity. That was because of the violence. And the original cut of this movie was 117 minutes, just under 2 hours. And the only cut you can get now is 86 minutes. And it is kind of funny how they arrive. There's always the odd girl out and the one that's going to be panicked, and that's Cheryl, and she's the first one that ends up possessed. We get, a crazy moment where the dead's going over, and then the steering wheel locks up, and oh no, this giant boat of a car. How did cars like that in the 70s ever manage to stay on the road without actually just totally falling off? Those cars were huge. I'm not saying there aren't huge cars now, but good goddamn grief. With those gas prices back then? But nevertheless, they end up arriving at the cabin that, has electricity. It had no plumbing, by the way, at the time. Had no plumbing. So they basically either had to go into town or basically not shower. And I know that it smelled crazy in there, as the kids say. So they go down into, Scott in particular, played by Richard, the Manticore, as it were, as I'm going to call him. They end up finding this Book of the Dead, and they end up finding the audio tape that's on the on the tape reel, like the film reel and stuff like that. And they end up discovering, this one doctor says, oh yeah, by the way, we found out about this particular, tribe, or this particular brand, people, the Candor, the can do. And they basically ended up he ended up summoning people, or the dead people and all that. And his wife ended up possessed, and now he knows they're coming for him. So naturally, they keep playing the tape, and it ends up either playing backwards, or ends up playing forwards, or ends up playing front ways, or both ways, and always twirling, whirling towards freedom. And then they end up summoning stuff, and then people end up doing, becoming possessed gradually, with pretty good makeup effects for the time. I do have to say, as far as the budgetary constraints, they didn't skimp on the makeup. And apparently Bruce Campbell was a big help as far as production. And they had to be creative as far as the camera work and the fog. More fog in an N64 game. Even though Major League Gaming was way, way off, because this was in 1980. So we had like the Atari 2600? Was the 2600 even out in 1979? Genuine question. So Cheryl ends up freaking out. And she runs out into the woods, panicked. And then, hey, it's the roots of all evil, and then a root impregnates her. It's a tree-way. I'm trying here, folks. I'm really trying. So it was the woods themselves. It was the trees. They're alive. They're alive! And then basically, they're playing. They just calm down and they play a game. She wanted to get out of there, but the bridge is out. So Cheryl's completely insane. It won't let us leave. Well, no, because it's a horror movie. But then Cheryl ends up possessed and fucked, so they lock her in the basement. And oh, I see, it's okay when filmmakers decide to lock a college-age girl in the basement, but when I do, okay, this is awkward. Ignore the noises and the bangs you might hear. Nevertheless, what ends up happening is Cheryl's, like she's trying to get out of the basement. Apparently, demons didn't figure out how to get out of cellars when they were, when they were manifesting themselves as great ancient evils of the underworld. They came, damn, all the stupid basement. I can't figure this out. And then more people end up dying. Scott ends up getting hacked up. Again, pretty good gore effects and everything. You have pretty skin, give it to us now, as one girl ends up, possessed in the fire and then tries to get Scott and is doing this to his face and da la 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 la. Yeah, I'm trying to have a little bit of fun with this because the demons were, I guess, intentionally irritating, so you want to see them die, but yeah, I remember a lot of this stuff being kind of irritating at the time, and time hasn't been kind to some aspects of this movie, but I appreciate the ingenuity of it. They made Bruce seem like a buffoon here. I mean, he would later become, I guess, more of a buffoon ass, as it were. And during their trip to the basement before all this happened, they found this like ancient sword thing that had the skull on the end of it. And, oh no, this one of the demons introduces it and then gets stabbed with it. Not being stabbed with an ancient weapon that you introduced, you idiot. And then Scott ends up saying, screw y'all, I'm getting out of here. And then he ends up getting fucked and destroyed. And then everybody else is possessed. Linda's possessed. That's Bruce Campbell's, or Ash's girlfriend, Betsy Baker. And she ends up, being all like, blah, yeah. And then at one point, Bruce gets pissed and decides to pimp slap his girlfriend. Pimp slap your demonic girlfriend this fall on Fox. And then eventually he has to decide to be the one-man army and take people out and do all this crazy stuff. And he introduces a chainsaw briefly, but he can't hack up his girlfriend. And then there's blood in the pipes and blood on the projector and blood in the flashlights because they just use all the goddamn blood because they're like, whatever, we'll just have fun throwing copious amounts of blood here. And then it seems like, oh shit, he burns the book. He manages to get the necklace that he handed to Linda earlier, gets the book, throws it into the fire, dance into the fire, and that's it. Everybody melts away, stop motion animation. And then that's it. And then Bruce goes to leave. And then the evil comes back and gets in his mouth. And that's it. Then we get to Evil Dead 2 later. Hooray! Yeah, that was fun. Let me know what you thought of the original Evil Dead in the comments, please. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rickland. I'll see you soon.